Yo, what's up, you guys? Coach David here with Metro Jiu-Jitsu. And so on today's episode of Yo Coach, we're talking about how to avoid injuries in Jiu-Jitsu. So this is a topic that's really personal to me because at the time of this recording, I just turned 35. I started training when I was 19. I didn't even know what the word injury meant until about almost 30, so it was almost like I had a Wolverine type body. I would get hurt, maybe injured, and get right back on the mat, shortly. So I've also kind of dug a little research because traditionally, I remember reading years ago that the injury rate in jiu-jitsu is lower than that of mainstream sports, and it still is, but not to the same degree. And so we're going to talk about who gets injured, who's more likely to get injured, how do injuries happen, main injuries that happen, and really how to avoid them, right? So let's get right into it. Most injuries, at some point in time, 80% of practitioners who train for a prolonged period of time, eventually, they're going to get injured. Now, they're either going to get injured in the training room or they're going to get injured in competition. This was really interesting to me. And I'll put the link to the study in the comments or whatever, wherever this ends up, YouTube, what have you. Lower ranks get injured more in the training room. Higher ranks get injured more in competition. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting to me. But it makes sense a little bit. Lower ranks, I think a lot of them view the training room as competition. And then when higher ranks, if they're going to pull something out, like that's the time to do it. Or they just get stuff gets really explosive because in a high rank competition, you don't have the luxury, right? At purple, and what I'm calling high rank, I don't really know what this article was calling it. I would call high rank like purple and up. You've been training for 5 years or so at that point, so you don't have the luxury of slowly applying a submission or slowly doing a move. You're going to have a really narrow window of success, and if you don't get that, then you're going to miss it, or they're going to counter, or it's going to cost you, whatever. So at some point, so if we're looking at like eventually 80% of people are going to have some injury, and injury is defined as something, it's not like they're off the mat permanently, but at least 2 weeks it gets you off the mat. So I know I've had injuries. I've got ankles. I've had my ankles, they used to just get destroyed a lot, and so ankle injuries, rib injuries. I'm trying to think. Probably some I forgot. Knee, certainly some knee injuries. Nothing really with my elbows as of yet. I have had a neck as of late, neck and shoulder, kind of down the rear delt. It's not a rear delt. It's like, I don't know if that's like rotary cuff or whatever, but like that's kind of been given injuries. but it's never kept. Some of those I just kind of trained through, and we'll talk about how to try to train through or train around, as the case may be. So a few tactics I would say to training. One is going to be, it's got to be the warm up, number one. Well, actually, let's reset. It's going to be the expectation of who you're training with, number one. So you have to understand, and this is the importance of a good training partner and finding a gym and a school who understands, 90+% of jiu-jitsu practitioners, they've got stuff to do the next day. They've got to go to work. They've got either a desk job. If they're blue collar, then their body makes them money. They need their body to work. I've been in that position. Like, you show up and you can't do the work, man. Like, every day we took off was money out of my paycheck. So you have to do that. There wasn't the remote options like there are today. And so understanding that, hey, I think it's a responsibility on, we'll just break it down between, older and younger grapplers, because, the older grapplers tend to be more vulnerable for this. If a 40-year-old something is rolling with a 20-year-old something, the 20-year-old needs to realize who they're rolling with, even if they're tough, right? Even if they're a tough 40-year-old. I'm thinking of our wrestling coach, Coach Sawula, Professor Muhammad. There's others, I'm sure. But you need to understand who you're rolling with. You don't need to go balls to the wall on your fireman, just because the reaction time may not be there and you might injure your opponent. But yes, they're still responsible for protecting themselves. And so on the older side, be like, all right, hey, listen, is it cool if we start down? If you don't feel comfortable with takedowns, is it cool if we start in a position? Narrate the match a little bit. Dictate the match to protect yourself. Okay, unless you're prepping for a tournament, competition or something, that's going to be a little bit different. But those matches, I can't stress this enough, they're going to be looking very different than for each other. And I'm seeing, I'm feeling this, I'm seeing this, going from my 20s. My 20s were largely the same. You're really 19 to 29, not a whole lot changed, a whole lot. At 29, my body practically, sent a whole message to my nervous system, and I started feeling aches and pains, inflammation, tenderness. I couldn't just show up, bow in, and do, hard Shark Tank rounds like I could in my and even from 29 to like 35 now, I'm like, all right, well, I really placing a priority on warm-up of this as well. So step number one, though, I would say understand your partner, respect your partner, and kind of like take some inventory of who you're rolling with. And if you roll with them multiple times, like ask them, I'll ask people, hey, we got any legacy injuries or anything? And legacy injuries could be something that's not necessarily injured right now, but if there were a submission that were to be applied fastly, or maybe they caught them off guard, it could re-injure that. And so those honestly are the ones you got to look out for, especially as age. You get a lot of these old hockey players and wrestlers and lacrosse guys and whoever, they just got, life happens. And so they've got these injuries that you kind of need to be mindful of. And so you don't want to injure anyone. And then on the older side, you need to communicate those. If you know about them, be like, hey, all right, just anything on my back, dude. And just kind of be mindful of it. And then they're going to be mindful of it. Let's talk about the warm-up. So the warm-up is huge. And I'm gaining more appreciation for this as time goes on. So this is both a warm-up in like the calisthenics, stretching, drilling, whatever warm-up routine you have is different. I know if we go down to Coach Alvarez in Arlington, he's going to have a full probably 15, 20-minute warm-up routine consisting of light jog, jumping jacks, push-ups, pummeling drills, what have you. And so that is going to get everything, blood flowing to the inside and outside, and that's going to get, kind of loosen everything up. Secondly, I'm a huge fan of this, is a physical environmental warm-up. Heat the building, training in the heat. Takes a little getting used to, a little adjusting to, but man, every class I coach now, we turn the heat up to 80. It's the highest the thermostat will go. And that's as hot as it gets. And people are, at first, they're like, I can't breathe. But man, I'll tell you what, my joints feel great. My joints feel great. And then I can do more rounds. I can go a little bit harder rounds if I need to. I've got a little bit more flexibility. And so I think that's going to be huge as well to those. And so that could be your own personal warm-up. That could be something that you actually heat the building. Again, there's only so much of these that we can do, because if you're, especially new people getting started, if their first class is an 80-degree building, forced heat, and it's wrestling class, then, that's going to be, that might deter people away from the sport a little bit. So, but they do help prevent injuries and keep you training. Tapping early and tapping to the unknown. So if I get in any position, again, I've got kind of some experience now. If I get into a position that we don't know, maybe there's a new leg entanglement, people, they got a new feed of a head arm, whatever, I'm not going to wait until it hurts to tap, because the reaction time is just going to be too late. If people start moving, or they get a clamp on something and they start moving somewhere, and I'm not exactly sure how to rotate, again, I'm going to tap. Just there's no benefit to holding off on a tap. None, especially in the training room. You know, even I would, people say, well, in the competition, it's different. What, for your $7 medal or whatever it cost? Again, like, man, it's not worth it. Like, it's not worth it. Like, you may feel tough, but think of every like injury. This is how I think of it. Every injury, you know, it will come back tenfold down the road. And so if you have, you know, I feel things where I held off on tapping on my ankles, on my knees, and like it's Michigan winter now, dude, you're gonna feel that stuff. And so it's gonna be, how much strain is it worth putting on, you know, creating sort of, you know, I don't want to say irreparable damage, but creating like damage in the future. That's going to be really important. Another one is your your diet and nutrition. Okay, you can't eat like a child. You can't eat like a kindergartner. Junk food, Twizzlers, sugared pop, even non-sugared pop, hot dogs, pizza before training. And I'm not saying like never have these things. I'm saying that like if that's 80-90% of your diet, dude, you need micronutrients in there. You need blueberries and fruits and vegetables and meat, red meat, eggs. Eggs are like probably my favorite superfood. And I know, you know, that term's abused, but eggs, man, there's a lot of, even the egg, I mix them in with my protein shakes. So I get like 6 raw eggs, mix them with the protein shake, and then just all the egg whites and the good fats in there. You get the good, obviously, really lean protein in there as well. That's a great way to get like a lot of protein first thing in the morning. And then just cleaning up your diet, eating like those micronutrients actually matter. And then hydrate, immediately followed by hydration. That is going to be, that's one where I'm working on right now, like finding the time to, I hate the taste of water. Just plain water is like, ugh, you know, I don't want anything to do with this. So you can mix in electrolytes. Again, I've really been going in deep on like a dye kick, you know, avoiding dyes, which are just, it's literally like waste from like coal. Like it used to be a hazard it used to be a biohazard. And then it was a liability. They were like, well, how they would have to pay to get rid of it. And then a chemist found a way to like put it into food, or dye food, dye fabrics. And then like, well, we can dye food with it too. And so like, that's how yellow dye came into, and reds and all those things. So I'm just really looking into cleaning up my diet as best I can because I perform better. Okay, I'm not here to regulate any of that. Also, but on the topic of poisoning your body, alcohol, smoking, right? Like those will affect it. And it's not like you're not taking like putt-putt golf, man. Like this is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, this is grappling, this is combat. And so it's kind of a high performance, high caliber activity. Therefore, you need to fuel your body and take care of your body and set your body up for success to avoid that. If you find that you're getting now, all this to say, injuries seem to be pretty avoidable or unavoidable for about 80% of us. So if you get injured, it's not like, oh, I did something wrong. But if you're getting injured every month, every 2 months, you might want to like reevaluate either who you're rolling with, what you're doing, how you're doing it. You know, like what's the point, right? If you're getting in, I remember used to getting in these leg shootouts and just see who could just destroy it. Like, over what, man? Like, over what? And then when I started working in the trades, that was I was like, I can't not afford, like I've got to carry 80, 90, 100, 120 pound doors tomorrow, several of them. And I need to be able to have my body work for me. So those are kind of keys to preventing injury. And these are just kind of off my experience of, other gym owners, other high ranks, seeing, picking their brain, because I'm not immune as well. Like, I don't want my body injured. I'm trying to, I'm sure that you could add in some bonus ones. I'm sure there's someone's going to come on here with like cold therapy. It seems to be a lot of data supporting that. Anything you can do, but I think the large ones are going to be what we covered here. So let me know your thoughts, guys. If you have anything useful or helpful to add to these, love to hear them and get them added to the topic as well. Otherwise, I'm Coach David with Metro Jiu-Jitsu. If you, as always, we'll see you on the mats. But if you have any topics you want us to cover in this Yo Coach series, throw it in the comments. You can message us. You could, I guess, email us. I don't really check the email, but we have people who do, and we'll get it answered. Thanks so much. Talk to you soon.